Hi, this is Margaret Maloney, and welcome to the Death Dhamma podcast. Together we will consider life, death, and impermanence. Because in between birth and death, we lose things. Not just our glasses and our keys. We lose identities, relationships, ideas, and more. But what we can gain right now is facing this together, and we will gain freedom, peace, and progress on our path. Hello, everyone. I guess we could call this a bonus episode. There was a discussion that Mahesi Caplan and I had about the human realm and about the 7 stages of initiation. And while they might not exactly fit in with our theme for the season of impermanence, I really thought that I wanted to share it with all of you. And so this is a bonus episode, and I hope that you find it as helpful as I did. Thanks for being here. And I suppose there are individuals who can experience the luminosity without having had intensely difficult things in their lives. I do believe that those people exist, but I think that for most of us, we need that grit to come into our oyster shell to develop that pearl.
In terms of different layers of consciousness that exist, the human realm is considered to be, possibly you already know this, considered to be quite special in Buddhism in that we have access to all other realms from this realm.
Yes.
So we do see heavenly realms in the human realm, and we do see devas. They're your Miami beach bods lying on yachts with oiled up skin and glittering white teeth and
that's a great comparison.
And Rolex watches, and you look at them and you think, God, why their lives look so amazing.
Right, that's the life.
And they are fundamentally devas.
That's a great analogy.
The problem with that community of beings is they're not very wise.
True.
In the sense that they're not seeing the bigger picture. They're not recognizing the impending death, basically, that they're facing. And they're repelled by old age and sickness and death. It absolutely freaks them out.
Yes.
So, and so we do see that realm, and we do see even higher realms, kind of oil, kings of oil countries with, 600-room palaces and things. And,
Sure.
So it all exists, but the human condition, is a balance of pain and pleasure. And that is the great opportunity, is to be able to find this, sense of freedom that I've kind of alluded to in the midst of this kaleidoscopic process of pain and pleasure impacting us. But we are very pain averse as a culture. I've in some of these spiritual forums or Kundalini forums, the slightest kind of itchy nose or pain, everyone starts freaking out.
Yes. Oh, I have to go take an aspirin.
Yeah.
I have to go take a decongestant. It's like, okay, just give it a minute.
Yeah, in a sense, there is a toughness to this, and there's certainly a toughness to the Buddhist approach to spirituality, which is to do with turning to face what's occurring.
Yes.
And open to it. And if you're not comfortable with it, it's because of it's because of it's not that there's an issue with what's occurring, it's your interpretation of what's occurring. Constantly got this opportunity to grow in your capacity to interpret with right view, right understanding what's occurring, as opposed to wrong view and misunderstanding, which then is what all the reactivity that we see in the world is about.
It's not that I should never have had to deal with anything difficult. It's not that I should never have to be sick. It's not that I should never have to get old. And it's not that I should never have to die. That is the natural order of things. It's that I need to learn to embrace that and become comfortable and part of the process. And I am at what you're saying about the luminosity. As I can step into the luminosity, I don't see that as something that shouldn't be happening. It just is. I guess I'm going to just cap it at that.
We're not actually wanting to become the luminosity, but the luminosity becomes a tool that enables us to deepen our understanding of our situation. We're in the circumstance of being, being in a flesh body on a planet in a mysterious universe. So that luminosity is a tool that, as I say, you can start to, experience both internally, you can contemplate it both internally and externally. And once you get to that stage of seeing it both internally and externally, you are, in a sense, a universal sort of being in many ways that's accommodating your individuality. Ajahn Chah used to speak about, it's not that your mind is inside of your body, which is the impression most of us are under most of the time.
Sure.
Thinking our mind's inside of our body, we're staring out at this universe. You reach a point where that turns inside out and you discover that your body is inside of your mind. So your body is arising as an object inside of your mind in the same way as a thought arises as an object inside of your mind. And at that point, our relationship to death and dying is our personal death and dying process is very, very different, because we're already, in a sense, the body's already, in a sense, become transparent. I mean, you see it even in movies. We kind of know it. You see it when, The Matrix is an interesting movie because I don't think it was fully conscious, everything that occurred in that movie. But first of all, what was interesting in that movie is when Neo got shot in the heart, bang, 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 he got shot in the heart. And it was that the impact of that gave rise to the kiss. That was, the sort of the image of love and everything that gave him the power to then break the solidity of Mr. Smith. And if you remember, this sort of light exploded from inside of him and dissolved his body, and he kind of blew up into this kind of sort of field of undifferentiated light.
Right.
And all of this is just sort of already in our minds already. We have it in our imagery, in our movies, but we don't understand that actually we really do have access to this possibility to actually undergo these transformations ourselves in our lives for real, and we're not being initiated into it. We're not being taught about it. We're not being given instruction that facilitates it. It's
and why do you think that is? So as you were talking about, as you're describing in the movie, and I was thinking, so somehow people who are writing stories and movies have grasped onto some of the idea, but it's presented to us in a movie. And when I see it in Neo, I don't see it as something as a possibility for me, because he's this amazing special character, right? Yeah. So why is this?
We've become dispossessed of our birthright, essentially. No one's, as I say, we don't have a culture of initiation that facilitates this. We're not being taught about the possibility. We don't have the keys to the ignition. We don't know where the key is. We don't know where to put the key. We don't know how to turn the ignition on and then drive the vehicle forward. So that's kind of what is of interest to me, is how to get that rubber to meet the road. In a sense, it's there in the Buddhist tradition. Not everyone's going to become a monastic, but with this pointing out instruction, you can accelerate the process, I believe. It all has to do with intensification.
So even as a lay person, I have access to this ability.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. I believe that. I do believe that. I have great respect for the monastic tradition, and I can see the value. And it's what you described earlier. It's because you're all together within this discipline, and you're not overeating, you're not drinking, you're not, you're not in, so you aren't engaging in the distractions. And I think that's amazing.
That helps.
And I think it's harder for me as a person, as a lay person, but I think it's still within reach, I guess.
Yeah, there's that. Also, we don't have, in a sense, our culture is an expression of this disease. We don't have community. We don't have communion, real communion with each other even. So how, that's an expression of our inability to be relational sort of spiritually. And to me, spirituality is completely 100% relational. It has to do with being in relationship to all things, and then the awakening of and discovery of an unexpected experience of intimacy with all things that is, yet to be accessed, but it's there. We're all sitting on that gold. It's all occurring already. we're not being stewarded into it in a very effective way in the main. Of course, there's good teachers out there who are doing it if you're lucky enough to find one, but there's also, buyer beware. I mean, I have no interest in trying to exercise any kind of governance, particularly over what's happening, because it's all got its place. You know what I'm saying? What does concern me, I suppose, is when, particularly with my own tradition, is when, particularly in the sort of mindfulness scene, which has really become an industry, where people, in a sense, are putting themselves forward as representative of the Buddhist tradition in its totality, and I don't believe they're really representing it.
And as you're saying that, and I'm thinking, well, and you said, everything has its place, and it's true, because in theory, we're all here at different levels. And if you add, the idea of rebirth into the mix, we're all here, and possibly some returning, some not, but, possibly returning, and with the opportunity to deepen each time. As I say that, I'm thinking, but does it have to be that way? Does it have to be that way?
Well, again, as Ajahn Chah used to say, if it shouldn't be this way, it wouldn't be this way.
Ah, beautiful. So, okay.
It is the way it is. There's definitely, obviously, a lot of people are sensing that there is some sort of kind of an awakening happening. And it's becoming a bit of an industry. I mean, when I ordained 35 years ago, becoming a Buddhist monk was like unheard of. Nobody knew what it was, or certainly didn't know why you would even do it.
Why would you be such a thing? Is it a cult? I'm sure people asked you, are you joining a cult?
Yeah. Is it a cult? Buddhism teaches life is suffering. Why you want to get involved with that? But now it's much more mainstream.
It is.
But because of that, also, it's much more kind of Coca-Cola. I mean, it's not all nutritious. Just because something's popular doesn't mean it's nutritious, like Coca-Cola.
Perfect comparison. Yep.
But sometimes you got to drink Coca-Cola for a while and get sick to discover that actually you should try something a bit healthier, and it's all part of the process of discovery. And
so all these pieces, I appreciate you interjecting that. If it wasn't meant to be this way, it wouldn't be this way, right? That's a good point. So all of these things have a place. And if in this life I drink Coca-Cola, maybe should I come back to this life, because I could go other directions, is why I'm saying it that way, right? So eventually I come back to the human realm. Maybe the next time I don't drink the Coca-Cola, or I don't drink as much Coca-Cola, right? Yeah. Or
when I say everything has its place, I'm not trying to flatland everything either, because there is a hierarchy.
Yes.
Some things have more depth than other things.
Truthfully,
not all things are equal, and some, and I will critique some of those things that have their place, and that part of the place is the process of critique, because someone may hear that critique and that could be helpful, because there is this move to sort of say, well, everything's okay, so then everything's equal, we're all equal. We're all equal in potential. Yeah, we're all equal in potential, but we're not all equal in realization.
That's the perfect way to say it. Yeah. We have the potential. We are all in different stages of our journey. Yeah. Some people will have a quicker journey. Some people will find the map and, figure it out more quickly. And some of us know.
A big part of the problem is, there are these different stages of initiation. I don't know if you're aware of these 7 stages of initiation. I can quickly run through them, because this is a map that's really
let's do that. Yeah, that would be nice.
So first stage of initiation is sensing that my life could be more than this. I mean, everybody feels that, in a sense. That's what drives them to do what they do. In more instances than not, they feel that they could amount. This moment is not sufficient. Something more needs to, or could be added, needs to be added. And so there's the setting out of a journey to find out, how to add this extra thing that's going to give rise to a sense of completion. And then so you set out on this journey, and then you discover a community or a person or a teaching or a tradition of some sort that in some ways embodies this thing you're looking for. And so this is kind of second stage initiation. It's a kind of an awakening. Yeah. wow, there is this other possibility. And I could see it outside of me, and I want some of this for myself. And then third stage initiation is when you start to experience some of this for yourself directly.
Okay.
And this stage is commonly called the stage of unconscious incompetence.
Oh.
Or the charismatic position, because there can be a lot of charisma associated with it. You kind of light up like a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you think, I'm a shaman. I'm going to teach the world, how to be
do
spiritual.
this thing that I found. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you sort of become a sort of self-appointed teacher. And there's a lot of teachers in this level.
Okay.
And they attract a lot of attention because they're very, very confident in what they're saying.
And what they know.
And then the fourth stage initiation is when there's a kind of realistic reassessment of how difficult it's actually going to be to get, to integrate your insights. Okay. And it's called the depressive position. And usually
that makes sense.
Usually it's associated with some sort of disaster that happens to your community, or you get into trouble with a man or a woman, and who's a student, and it gets in the papers or something. It all goes badly, because as they say, where there's a hole, the rhinoceros horn will enter. So HOLE, where there is, where you're blind, where you, especially if you get in the spiritual game and you start to sort of, because it's so potent for humans, this whole growth process, the universe is going to continue to straighten you out. And that straightening out can feel like being hit from behind by a rhinoceros charging you down.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch. I've been through this personally. I've also seen communities go through this, whole communities. Okay. It can happen to collective as well. So that's the depressive position. And there's a sort of gradual, so you sort of, that takes some of the shine off, but it's more human. It's not as godlike, but it's more
realistic,
more human. It's got more human warmth, more modesty about it, a bit more allows for the presence of uncertainties as opposed to being overconfident. Mm-hmm. And then next stage, fifth stage, is the stage of what they call conscious competence.
Okay.
So it's a stage where you recognize that you're beginning to sort of get into this flow that I'm talking about, where this intersubjectivity, which, by the way, has this kind of eros connected to it, this sort of electricity, and this constant process of downloading the intelligence of all things. You're being informed constantly about how things are, where you are, but, so you're this deepening understanding. So you're in that flow, you're kind of growing into that. And then but there's still a degree of self-consciousness about it, and being, pleased about your progress, so to speak.
Okay, sure.
And then sixth stage initiation would be the stage of unconscious competence, where you're so, in a sense, accustomed to this flow. It's so normalized in the sense you recognize it's nothing special about me. That's just the way the universe is. Okay. And it's just how things are. So, you're not creating any sort of personal movements of mind around it, where you're creating some sort of sense of personal story. So that, there's that stage. And then seventh stage initiation is the actual enabling of means that will facilitate other people reaching the same.
That's beautiful. I hadn't gone through those 7 stages. It's a lot to think about there.
There's more. There's more, but that's a lot to
think about there. You've been listening to the Death Dhamma podcast with your host, Margaret Maloney. Thank you so much for being here. Come find me on margaretmaloney.com, margaretmeloni.com. And until we meet again, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be at ease, and may you be free from suffering. Bye for now.